Good evening, everyone. I'm José Luis Barbosa, and welcome to the AES Sport Legacy channel. Our program, Vivência do Sport, has in mind to inform, to debate, to promote, and to entertain. This program has a talk show format that talks about relevant subjects such as education, sport, culture, politics, economy, and so on. To maintain the quality of this show, on this evening, we have on the backstage giving us that great support, giving all the information and take all the questions from our audience are Joelle Marcondes and Eder Mota. To present this show with me tonight, I have two great friends, Adriano de Souza and Edwin de Souza. Good evening, everyone. I am José Luis Barbosa, and welcome to AES Sport Legacy Channel. Our program, Vivência do Sport, has in mind to inform, to debate, to promote, to entertain. This program has a talk show format that talks about relevant topics such as education, sport, culture, economy, and so on. To maintain the quality of this show on this evening, we have on the backstage two great technical support to give all the information and take the question from our audience are Joelle Marcondes and Eder Mota. To present this show with me here tonight, I have two outstanding friends, Adriano de Souza and Edwin de Souza. Always with the idea of offering the best. This evening would not be different. This evening, you are honored to receive on our AES Sport Legacy channel to participate in the Vivência Sport program. We have an outstanding professional, a fantastic human being who has made the difference in the way people see sport. He was a former collegiate athlete in track and field. He has been working as a broadcaster in important channels like NBC, ABC, CBS, ESPN, Pac-12 Network. And he also has been working as Olympic broadcaster since 2000 Olympics, in the Summer Olympic Games and the Winter Olympic Games. It is with great satisfaction that I introduce to all Luis Johnson. Welcome, Luis Johnson.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much, my friend. And it is so great to see you. I mean, we have so many great memories together competing in Europe. And Edno and Adriano, it's great to be with you as well from Brazil. So I hope one day soon to see you guys in person when we come back. But it's great to be with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
It's going to be a pleasure.
Thank you, thank you. Have my caipirinha ready, please.
All right.
Okay, great.
Which one do you prefer?
My wife prefers passion fruit, and I prefer the regular. Okay.
All right. All right.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, but before we start, I would like to remind you to support our channel. Without your support, our channel cannot be great. Please subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, give the like, that it's very important. Share it on your social media with your friends. Invite them to come and watch us, because there is and still have time to watch this wonderful show. Luis Johnson, good evening again. How are you? It is a great satisfaction to have you here with us tonight. Please feel free, feel at home, and speak your mind. And we appreciate it.
Well, this is a pleasure. And first of all, I want to thank you to come here tonight, especially this evening, to stay with us and share everything that you got. And I want to thank you first of all, to give me the opportunity to stay in your room in that wonderful conversation that we had two times. The first one with Rinaldo Nehemiah, who stayed with us last week, and also Mr. Frosberry. It was the last chat that we had in the same room. It was so amazing. And this is the kind of thing that we are trying to bring for all of the people in Brazil and Latin America. But we need to start slowly and from the beginning. Maybe you need to come back again to give more specific talks, some specific tips, because it's a bunch of things. We will know, and you will see how the people will behave from this to the next time. But my question here is, at elementary school, you said that you were born in Texas, in Austin.
Right.
But did you already have any sports skills that colored your attention in that time?
No sports skills back then. I did not.
Oh, really?
No, I had none. And it's so funny because as a young kid, I mean, we played kickball, we played baseball, we played a little basketball. We did basic things, And it wasn't until I moved to junior high, so we have elementary school, which is usually first grade through sixth or fifth grade. Then I went to middle school, 7, 8, 9. And that's when I got involved with sports. And so it was a little bit of running, a little bit of basketball, and I tried football, but I realized in one practice that I don't like to get hit. And so I realized American football was not for me. We did not play soccer, so that was not something that we did. But when I went to high school, I was pretty good at running, and they tried to get me to run cross country. I went to one high school cross country meet just to watch, and I saw people leave the start line with nice, clean uniform. Then I saw them come back with dirty uniform, where they fell in the mud and everything. And I said, I don't want to run cross country, So I said, maybe I'll stay with track and field. So I did some track and field in high school, tried basketball again. It was a very bad experience. And I'm so thankful that I had the courage to say, you know what, I am not going to sit on the bench and not play and not be no one taking me seriously to try to train better, because I was very tall. And I decided to go back to track and field full time. And that was a big decision to run track in high school. And I was sort of serious, not very serious, but that was my sport.
Wow. This is very interesting, because when we are talking about American athletes, we all the time think, oh, maybe this guy is a great athlete. And it's very interesting to hear from you that there was not a good skill when you were young.
No. And I think it's very interesting you say that, because when I think about your country and how important soccer is, I say soccer, you call it football, how important football is to your nation. And the young kids see that at a very young age, that this is the sport that shows our power, our dominance. It's what we love. It's our passion. And we have big stars. So they are inspired very early to want to play soccer. And it's a game that you can play that's very cheap to play, if we want to be honest, right? Some sports are very expensive with equipment and training and things, but you can play soccer anywhere all the time with a ball and with friends. So it's part of your culture. For me in Cincinnati, when I was going to high school, even in Austin, soccer was not a part of our culture at all. I never saw that, wouldn't know what it was. So that's the difference in growing up in different parts of the world. And I think that's the beauty of our cultural experiences that are all different. And then I discovered running, which was my thing. But I was not into sports at all in elementary, and maybe some in middle school, more serious in high school.
Wow. Luis Johnson, I have a question for you. When you had the click, when did you have the click, and which university you would go to when you were in high school?
Yeah, so my click for running really came again in high school, and I guess I was running the hurdles, the 110 hurdles, like Ronaldo last week. Nowhere near as good. I did the long jump a little bit, And then I was supposed to run the 400 in most meets, but I would usually come up with a cramp or an injury or something to get out of the 400 because I didn't want to run it, you know. But I left high school as a 400-meter runner, and I went to the University of Cincinnati, which is in the same town. And one of my best friends on my high school team, his name is Doug Wiseman. He went on a scholarship. I had no scholarship. So I walked onto the University of Cincinnati for 2 years. I walked around. I was completely lost. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was taking classes and was not running. But I used to go by the dormitory, the hall where he lived, and I'd knock on his window. And I'd say, "Hey, Doug, how are you doing? What's going on?" And he'd ask me over and over again, "You should try the run track again. You should come back. You should walk on the team." And for those who don't understand, a walk on is someone who joins the team with no scholarship. You just come and you become part of the team. So 2 years later, in 1987, 85, I walked on the track team at the University of Cincinnati, and all I got was a pair of shoes. That was it. No money, no nothing. And I started to train with the team. When the first year was very hard. And by the second year, I had discovered my event, which was going to be the 800, and became a co-captain and was doing pretty good in the workouts. And by the third year, this was the big year. This was the big moment for me. The third year, my coach says, "I think you could become an All-American," which means you have to get to the NCAA meet, the college championship meet. You have to make the final in your event. Then you have to finish in the top 8. And I was able to achieve that in 3 years as a captain, and I set the school record, which still stands today. And that was really when things began to take off. That was in 1987, and then it was in '88, Jose, that I came to the Olympic trials in Indianapolis. And then that summer, Ken Washington told me about track and field in Europe, and that's when I met you guys.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
See how the
Yeah.
dot connected there?
Yeah, Ken Washington. Ken
Yeah.
Washington. Look at that. Grand Ken, great
Yeah.
friend of mine. It was very interesting to you answered my next question. It was very interesting that you are walk on, you didn't get scholarship, you just walk on and then became a captain because you have a lot of, you know, perseverance, you have a lot of discipline, and you put in your mind that that's what you wanted to do. And then I think this is a great thing. And I want to congratulate you on that because someone inspire you back to the track, and then you become All America, went to the final NCAAs, and then end up being even to the Olympic trials. So congratulations. You answered my question, which I'm going to ask if you have a scholarship or not. So you said you don't have not, but
Yeah.
it was even better because you give the whole explanation how you get all the way to the point to be in Europe. That's so fantastic.
And
I
I
like
want to say, and I want to add something to that for the listeners today, whether you're a young athlete in high school or middle school, or you're the parents of younger children who are trying to find a sport. It is so important to allow yourself to experience different things. The journey, success is not a location, it's not a destination, it's the entire thing, it's all of it. And so I
It's the
had the
chart.
right, that's right. I had the right people, whether it was my family or it was a coach who welcomed me on a team with no money, but people, my best friend encouraged me. So we have a big responsibility as parents, or as people in the community or as coaches to encourage people no matter the talent that you see right now, because I did not show any good talent early in my life. So we must do that. And I hope through this discussion that somebody will be listening as a parent or a coach or a young child to say, "Hey, I have a love for this. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't look at everybody else. Look at yourself and keep doing it."
Louis,
Fantastic.
this is awesome to listen, but I want to know, you said earlier that you are tall, but nobody knows yet how much tall you are. You
Yeah.
are, I'm 6'4", but you are 6'6" taller,
Right.
right?
6'6". Yeah.
6'6". Have you ever thought about playing basketball, volleyball, or another sport in that time? What happened to not playing that kind of sports?
Yeah. Well, as I said, basketball was something I tried. Volleyball was not something we played. We didn't see that in our schools. We didn't see that in the neighborhood. And basketball, I wanted to do. A funny story from a high school team. I think I would have had more attention from coaches to try to work with me. I was I would say I was not very coordinated in high school. I was, I was very, very skinny, very skinny. And we had one guy on our team who was almost 7 feet. He was like 6'11".
Wow.
He was really not coordinated, but he was very tall. And they would tell him, go run down the court, go stand under the basket and just put the ball in the basket. And he got all of the attention. He was a very nice guy. He got all the attention. And so the rest of us taller guys were not getting much attention. So coaching is a coach has so much of an influence on a young athlete's life. They have so much of an influence, and coaches must be careful not to smash or squash somebody's desire, their passion, even if you don't see great talent. You never know. And I had my desires about basketball crushed early, but thankfully I knew about running and I went back to it in high school, and then that was what helped to keep me to what I did in the sport.
This is what you said now is so very important, because sometimes we have people, especially in Brazil and Latin America, that they only pursue the soccer, but there's another options maybe you can be.
Oh yeah.
Just to give you a little information, I worked for a baseball team, professional baseball team in US, and one kid, he tried several times to become a soccer player. And one day we invited him to do a tryout just to see what happened. He signed, just to make it long story short, he signed his contract as a professional, and right now he's on the AAA as a shortstop.
Wow. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And he was trying to be a soccer player, but he
Yeah.
does not understand what means for the people, what means a shortstop in a team,
Right.
especially in the baseball team. It's a tough
Right.
position to be there.
Yeah, and you make a great point, Edno. I think it's important for, again, athletes, and again, it gets up to the parents sometimes to lift the eyes of the children to look beyond just the same thing everybody's doing, see what else is available. And the other thing I love is for us to see different sports that are strong in some countries make a global expansion and maybe have clinics to show kids what American football is and maybe what volleyball is or maybe what American baseball is, so that you have these cross-cultural, cross-sport experiences, so you have your eyes opened up to other things. You may not get it right now at 10 or 11 years old, but something may trigger and you may say later on, I think this is something I want to try. And then we have to have the means for them to have a camp or a clinic or exposure. And I always believe that if we can include travel, so you can leave your country maybe for a week and go to some other place after COVID is, somewhat under control, and have these experiences, it becomes more than just about sport. It becomes about cultural exposure and experience, and it becomes about seeing yourself having an opportunity to travel somewhere else and meeting other people and expanding your life. That can be the beauty of sport. That's what I've loved about my career as an athlete and as well as in television.
Wow,
Awesome. Thank you.
this is amazing, because I used to see in Brazil, because a lot of kids, they pursue the money, they don't pursue the passion.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a talent to go to other sports, but they don't want to take the risk. And we have different sports. We have basketball, we have volleyball, which Brazil is very good in volleyball as well, and also in basketball. But I don't know, parents, they don't have enough information to drive the kids to the right way. You know what I mean? So I think that's why this was one of the things that we decided to build up this channel, to give the people opportunity to have more information about the sports, not only in Brazil, but around the world.
I think that's great. I think that's great. And I'm not sure what you guys think, but for me as an American who has been lucky enough to go to 10 Olympics for NBC, each time I go to the Olympic Games, no matter what country, I know that there's been a major impact on that country in terms of preparation and having the world come to your place, and you see all these different sports. When I came to Rio, and I was down there twice, once for the Olympics and once for the Paralympics, it was just amazing. And I hoped especially at track and field, Zach, when we were there and we drove to the neighborhood to come back to the stadium. The one thing that broke my heart is that we had all those empty seats in the stadium. And I said, my God, open the gates and allow the children of the community, the parents and the children to come in and see this, to feel it and become inspired by it. And by you guys doing this with this channel, it's very important to be able to share these stories and to understand that the Olympics had to have a big impact on your country. It had to have a big impact on some people, hopefully the young people who see a possibility for their lives based on what they experienced, what they saw.
Well, look, let me confess one thing. This gentleman that we call very, very closely as Zeka, he worked so hard and he received a title as a darkness ambassador because he invited everybody just to bring the first step for the Olympics, but the Pan American. But unfortunately, as you said, what we had in that time, money talking, only the profit talking. They don't care about anything. And we need to change our mindset as a people, because if we do not change our mindset, unfortunately, the politicians, they will not change. We need to change the way to choose the politicians. We need to change everything, but from ourselves, not from themselves to us.
Right.
And I want to just give a compliment on that, Lewis Johnson, when you said about the Olympic Games, all the legacy, all the building, everything is done, all the construction right now, because we don't have qualified people, and those things there is not being used. That's the sad part about it.
Yeah. And Zaka, that's not strange for most Olympic cities. There's usually some kind of a problem or issue afterwards where facilities may not be kept up, or if you don't have another major championship coming back in 2 or 4 years, or world championships or something big, then there's the facilities can drop off. But I always believe that the power is in the people, the power is in the grassroots. And so you start from the bottom and get kids inspired. Sometimes it's one by one or team by team, experience by experience. You can bring up the type of change you need. But ultimately, it has to be up to communities to give kids experiences and give them the opportunity to see other things and make some decisions and choices for their lives other than what they see every day. So it's a great challenge, but it's these conversations and then actions that make the difference.
Yeah. Well, we could discuss this the whole day, the whole night.
And there will be not enough
things to talk about. Let's get back to here. And I have another question for you.
All right.
At the University of Cincinnati, you had your PR.
Yes.
In the 800 meter in the NCAA tournament in 1987, right?
You did your homework.
Running 1.47. Yeah. Did you think during this period you could reach the same level as Johnny Gray, Jose, and Cruz?
Oh, well, how about let's say this. I dreamed. Dreamed, but I joke sometimes. I say, if it wasn't for the internet, to search the times, I would lie about my personal best. I always wanted to say I ran 145 or 144,
Hey, but man, you're trying to shit in.
It never happened. Hey, wait a minute now. Once on a relay at the Drake relays, Jose, you heard of the Drake relays, right?
Oh, of course. I run there once, so.
You ran there once. Okay. So back when I was in college in 87, my last year, we set the school record for the sprint medley. So it's 200, 200, 400, 800. I ran 800 leg. We set our school record. I was in the lead at one point, and then, I was behind, and I brought it to the lead, and then I slipped to third or fourth, but we still set our school record. I ran 145.5 or something like that on the leg. And I wish I could just take that time to make it my personal best, but I know that you can't do that. So 147.00 is my personal best. And, I have to say that, again, I'm proud of the experiences, the journey I had, and it is what it is. That's the time I had. And there was no way that I was going to have the talent of Barbosa or Cruz or even Johnny Gray. When I trained with them, with the Santa Monica Track Club, I never won a workout. with Johnny against Johnny Gray on the roads, on the track. He was unbelievable, but he made me a better athlete because he pushed hard and we were pushing hard to be behind him. When I saw Barbosa and Cruz and others train on the tracks in Europe, you guys made me a better athlete because as much fun and craziness and loud we were in the hotel, we went to the track to work out. You guys worked out. Y'all dropped some crazy workouts, and I knew that when I went to the track, I had to be ready to do a good workout because when I had to rabbit the race for you, I had to be ready. So because
Yeah.
because 2 days ago he was at the track in Grosseto, and Jose Luis de Oliveira said you need to run 3 400s in 49 seconds with a 200 meter jog. I was like, they're gonna do what? So they run the 400, 49, jog the curve, come back, run another one, 48, 49, jog the curve, come back, run another. I said, oh my God. Oh my God, I better do my training because they're going to be ready in 2 nights. So you guys inspired me, man.
Well, that's awesome. If we will be able to inspire you. But one thing I I really like about you when you were there, as I tell you, you're always humble. You always ready to do your task, your job, which was to be the pacemaker. But you relate with us very well. You never put yourself in different positions. You felt yourself as like a world-class athlete as well because you are doing a world-class job as a pacemaker. So you talk with us in a humble way. You understand your position, but you always doing question. You always talking about important, topic, subject, and things what's going on at that time to make the change for Grand Prix. A lot of those change was supposed to be done in track and field, and you hours doing your like kind of homework and gather together. And
Appreciate that.
I think one question I have for you is like this: you have been in many important events around the world in athletics with the elite of the track and field. You know, my question to you is like this: what kind of learn has this given to you to become a great broadcaster that are you today? What the kind of learn, what that teaches you, be among of the elite athlete, learn how to work hard, what that can experience bring to you in yourself to bring you to make you to be one of the best broadcaster, sport broadcaster in the whole world.
Well, thank you again for that. I think for all of us who accomplish something in life, there has to be an innate hunger. There has to be a real strong desire to accomplish something.
Mhm.
And and sadly, you cannot plant that into somebody. They have to have it, or maybe you can nurture it or develop it.
Mhm.
But there has to be a hunger, and I always had a hunger and a desire to accomplish some things. Like from going from a walk-on to an All-American and earning a little bit of a scholarship, and then coming to the trials and having that experience and literally be one conversation away from missing my whole life. Ken Washington told me about track and field in Europe, and then I went. But I think what I love the most about what I do is it's it's the humanity of it. Okay, it's not about stats and numbers. It's about the people, and I love people. I was raised that way, and I have great influences from my grandparents and my parents, and they loved people and love to connect with people, love to get to know people. And when I came to Europe, it was like I was like a sponge, and I couldn't get enough of these experiences of all these different cities and meeting people, and then meeting you guys, athletes from all over the world, and then competing. And we get our little money, and we go and we have a great time and party at night, and get back on the bus and go to another city. I loved all of that. So as I was working behind the scenes in TV while I was still competing, I worked behind the scenes a lot, doing low level jobs in TV. I worked at the big football stadium in California. I worked at the behind the scenes at the Academy Awards 3 times. I worked at the British Open golf tournament sometimes and these were low level jobs that I was getting my experience and meeting people. I just took this passion and drive to want to accomplish something, and relationships to me are everything. So as I moved into TV and you learn how to ask a question or two, again, it comes down to relationships. And so I always believed in nurturing great relationships with people. And even in TV, it's about that. So whether it's great NBA players or at track and field athletes at the Olympics or whatever. It's the relationship. When you, Barbosa, come off the track and you walk to the mixed zone. It's the zone where the athletes and the media mix. And it's been a great moment. And you see me, you're happy to talk. But if you come off that track and it's been a disaster, it's been the worst moment of your life because the Olympics didn't go like you wanted, and you see me, do you feel comfortable enough to come over and talk? And it's all about relationships. And so that's what I really have built my career on, is having good relationships. You have to know when you can talk to people. You have to know how to not be on social media and say everything you heard, off the record conversations, that type of stuff. So I try to take that idea of relationships and then storytelling, telling people's story as they navigate a Worlds or Olympics or an NBA game or a college football game or whatever. That's what it's all about. Those are the kinds of really important ideals. And I talk to young people who want to be in the media to do what I do and tell them that it's not about tweeting and Facebook and all that. It's about personal communication, relationship building, trust, bonds that you can use in the right way in your career in the media. Very, very important. And that's what I believe in.
Great. Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
I get a hand clap on that. It's just the truth. That's just my truth. That's the way I operate, man.
No. Look, what you are doing is the same what we had last week, because Nehemiah gave us a master class how to be a human being. And now you are giving us a PhD, how to be a human being. Just why we are here now, because this is the thing that we can share to the people, just to show up the real things, the humanity that we have.
That's right. That's right.
And for this, I have a question for you, because could you explain to us how you detected the opportunity in track and field to dedicate yourself to sports broadcaster?
So how did I see the opportunity? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. How did you see the opportunity on a track or in the sports in general to dedicate yourself as a sport broadcaster?
Well, I would say if I could connect these dots together, I would say that as a young kid in high school and middle school, I was having a hard time to have a self-confidence. Yeah, I was having a hard time to feel good, okay, because sometimes it's your environment. You're getting a lot of pushback, and you feel like you're in the corner. There was only very few Black people at my school in high school, and so it was in middle school. It was tough, but sport was what gave me a foundation. Sport was what gave me a foundation. It gave me a team. It gave me a coach. It gave me a uniform. It gave me a chance to make a competition and build from that. As I moved into high school and became more serious about it, I had to decide what I wanted to study. And after the 2 years, I decided communication because I wanted to be maybe in the media. I didn't know exactly what, but I had some interest. I tried to get into the broadcasting college at my university, and I couldn't get in. At one point, I took a film class while I was in school at that college and failed the film class. So I had all of these different options to have the door shut to say, no, communication or media is not for you. But I wouldn't accept those answers. And so as I moved through and got my degree in communication, I started to work behind the scenes at a local TV station. I wanted to see what that was like, where they do the news and sports and weather. And I used to go and work for this guy on the weekends. But I was inside the building. I was looking to see how they were doing it. I was watching him write the scripts. I was watching him print the scripts, put his makeup on, watching him have on jacket and tie and shirt and jeans below and T-shirts because you couldn't see him below that. And I'd watch him give his report in the studio. I watched him be very good. I also watched him make mistakes. And I said, wow, he make a mistake. He's a human being like me. Yeah. So I always tell anybody, if you have an interest in something, you will never find out if it's for you unless you get around it. You must go be around it. You can't get it by watching it on TV. You have to be there, be somewhere, knock on the door. Can I come in? Can I see what this industry is about? If they say no, you keep coming back again until they tell you to get lost or, okay, come in. So I did that. And then as I moved into my professional career, it was the same. I knew I wanted to be around TV. I just didn't know if it was going to be in front of the camera or behind the camera. Behind the camera would have been easier production. in front of the camera was like a big dream, not possible. I didn't have a big name, had not made the Olympic team twice, failed it, but I had a desire to do that. So you have to identify what you want, and you have to decide that you're not going to let somebody else tell you what you can and can't do. You have to decide, and then you move on those things. Same thing I tell my sons. Our sons are 25 and 23. We have the same conversations about passions, desires. What God-given talent do you have? What's in your heart? What are you inspired by? What do you love to do? Move on those things, and don't be afraid to take a chance. And so that's what I did. And then when I got a strange opportunity with an interview, and that little piece of tape would lead to another opportunity, and one little piece of tape of an interview led to another opportunity. It just goes like that. But you have to keep moving on it. And even when it fails or the door gets shut, you keep moving forward. And at some point, hopefully something will crack open, and then the bigger opportunities come so you can do what you want to do.
So when was this opportunity? When was the opportunity that the door really opened up for you?
I'll give you a big one. I'll tell you something. And this is the other connection of why I love to travel. I love to go places. Almost all of my big opportunities have never come in the United States. They've always come somewhere else on the other side of the world. Did you ever run, Jose, did you run at the Goodwill Games in St. Petersburg,
Yes.
Russia?
Yes, I run St. Petersburg. Yes, as I did.
Okay. So what year was that? Was that
89, I believe, or
okay, somewhere in there, right?
yeah, somewhere there. Because the next after the St. Petersburg, it was here in Seattle.
Right.
I run that
Exactly.
too. So
Right.
it's
So I went
somewhere
to,
right there.
right. So I went to Russia for that. St. Petersburg, just an unbelievable city. I never thought I'd be in Russia to go compete. Unbelievable. So we were staying on boats. It was a big ship where most of the production people stayed, and there was a smaller boat where I was staying. And I had been hired as a stage manager. So that meant that I was working at track and field, but I was helping with papers and all that kind of stuff for the announcers who were doing all the races. One afternoon, I walked off of my boat and I was going to get in a van to go to the Hermitage, the museum. When I came out of the door, the van pulled away because I was late. I missed the van. But I knew there was a production meeting happening with the announcers at the other main boat. So I walked over there and walked up to that room and went into the meeting. And in the meeting, they were discussing this 10K race walk that was going to happen like in 2 days or the next day. And nobody wanted to do it because, it's a race walk. It's going to take forever or whatever. So Craig Masback, who has been a long time announcer friend, he turned around and he goes, I know that guy right there, Lewis Johnson, wants to be an announcer one day. He says, why don't you let him do it? And then let this other guy, Ian, be the play-by-play guy. So somebody made a phone call, and next thing you know, we were told that we were going to be calling that race the next day. So the next day, yes, that's how it happened. So the next day, I have a sheet of paper. I see about 20 names, and I don't think I can say any of them because they were Russians, all kinds of names. So anyway, we called this race. The last lap came down to this big moment where the Russian world record holder, Bernardo Segurio, took his hat off and he threw it down on the track. And he started going, and they were race walking, and the other guy was with him, Maxim Shapikov from Russia, and they're going at it neck and neck down the backstretch, and we're calling this big thing, and we turned the corner and came across, and it was a big finish. Well, that race went back to CNN in Atlanta as the play of the day, and our call was on it. So I spent that night after that race inside the big control room, getting the piece of tape transferred from PAL, which is the electronic language overseas, to NTSC that you could use it here. I brought that tape back, and that tape helped me get my first network job at ABC Sports.
Wow.
Race walking.
Yeah, race walking helped me get a couple of other interviews with ESPN doing jobs, and then I got my first opportunity to do network TV with ABC Sports doing college basketball and football. So most of the opportunities I've had have come in strange places, far off, and unexpected opportunities. But the key is for anybody listening is that you will never get what you're after by sitting at home talking about it. You must get up and go. Go after it nonstop. Don't listen to anybody, not even your parents, if they tell you that's not possible. You got to believe it, because I can tell you something. There were some moments in my life where my dad was looking at me like, you're leaving Cincinnati to go to California to train with Santa Monica Track? You only have one more semester left in college. You got to stay and finish your college. I said, I got to go now. Johnny Gray invited me, and I'm going out there. And I went out there, and I started doing that, and I started running overseas where we used to do with you guys. And one day I finally came back and finished my degree. But My father and I have had many, many conversations with a glass of wine and a good cigar. And we talk about those moments. He goes, Junior, he goes, there were moments where I didn't know what you were doing. I'm not sure if you knew what you were doing. I thought you were crazy. He goes, but you stepped out there and you went for it and you never looked back. He goes, I have so much respect. And we touch our glasses and we keep going. That's what you have to do is go after it. Go for it no matter what. No matter what. Don't let anybody tell you can't get there. It's not going to be easy, but just keep moving. Keep moving. I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me in my career.
Oh,
Wow.
I really know what you mean. Because I will tell you something that is going to be a surprise for you. As a Brazilian, I was a professional baseball player. I played minor league baseball.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did for the Toronto Blue Jays. And then I had the chance to work for one of the MLB teams. It was the Tampa Bay Rays for the last 10 years. And I could learn a lot. And I had a chance to know a little bit about the United States. And I know US and Brazil are very similar. I know you told us earlier something that you had in Brazil twice, but I would like to know how much you know about Brazil as a country.
Oh, that's a big question. I love that. I love that. So, I will start like this. Life is funny, right? So I met my wife when I was competing in track, right? I met her when I was competing in before they built the big Stade de France in Paris. They used to have that little. They used to have a little track in Saint Denis where we used to go run. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, Saint Denis. Yes, I do.
So one day I go out there to run one evening, and there was a lady on the fence, and I saw her, and we began to meet, and she didn't speak English. Her friend was talking for translating, who turned out my future sister-in-law. Well, to make a long story short, my wife's grandmother is a full-blood Carioca, so she was born in Rio, grandmother.
Wow.
And yes, and she met her husband, which would have been her grandfather. He was from Guadeloupe, and he was on a boat he was a boxer. He was on a boat that was going from somewhere, and she was on this boat as a cook or something like that. They met. They ended up going to Paris and started a family, and that's how this is. So my wife, when we went back, she went back with me to the Rio Paralympics. It was an incredible experience for her because she took pictures of her father and other people to have. We took pictures in the area with that, just that she's having these memories. So she is, I guess, a quarter Brazilian because of the grandmother. The other grandmother is from Spain, which would make our sons, I guess, like an eighth Brazilian. So it was like a real connection I felt watching her have it, But I had never been to Brazil before the games, but I was so very curious. I'd always seen the beautiful sights and what have you and the tourist locations, and that's all great. But for me to really begin to absorb a place, the tourist places are one thing, Sugarloaf, all these different things. You got to get in there and go with where the people are and really go and see and really feel it. And I think I had a little bit of a chance to do that. The place that I will always go back to when I go to Rio, and it was a place where it all connected for me. It was the culture of the music, food, the delicious caipirinhas, dancing. It was in Barra Tijuca, Espeto Carioca. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I was there about 4 or 5 times. Matter of fact,
Really?
early this afternoon, before I was preparing for this, I was looking at videos of me being in there and the band in the round that they played. They were unbelievable, and the food and just the whole cultural experience. Espeto Carioca was my spot in Barra Tijuca. So, oh yeah. So it's one thing to be in the hotel. It's one thing to be at the Olympic Stadium. It's one thing to go to the big sites, Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf, all these places. But at some point, you got to get into where the people are and go feel the culture, feel it. And, obviously with safety today, anywhere you go in the world. But I fell in love. And I told my sons both, I said, now, boys, I know you're looking for someone special, but before you make any decisions, we need to make a little trip to South America, to this place right here. We need to make a little trip to this place right here.
Oh,
And yes, I said because and make sure she's not your distant cousin because you got family relations down there, but you need to go down and have this experience, respectfully speaking, and just
I
enjoy
know.
part of who you are. This is part of you, who you are is in this place. So I fell in love with Rio, and I've never been to Sao Paulo except through the airport. Love to do that. So when COVID is finally, somewhat under control, we will definitely come back. But I don't know, man. I just love culture. I love traveling. I love people. And now that place has a more significance for us because of my wife's family connection. And now my 2 trips there for the Olympics, it will always be close to my heart.
Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Espeto
I like
carioca. Espeto carioca.
Speaking of Carioca, yeah, right. I gotta respect that, like what you said to your kids. I know where you come from. I know
Yes,
exactly.
yes, yes.
But Lewis Johnson, I'm gonna tell one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you also don't know about me. I was a poor kid that have track and field as my tool to succeed. But my childhood in Brazil was very poor. Starving. I didn't have condition. My mother have 6 kids, low income. You starving. What I did, like you said, I put my heart in front and went after my dream, and which was not go an Olympic game. It was get a plate of food, some place where it be safe to eat every single day, and it wasn't like try to get my education. It wasn't try to get a nice pair of shoes or scholarship. It wasn't that. It was get food. So talking about that, leading to that, I would like um, uh, to ask one question. According to your characteristics, you know, the place of your birth, your social class, hypothetically, if you had been born in Brazil, do you would be managed to do what you do today as a manager or as a podcaster?
Wow. That's
Hypothetically.
that's a deep question. That is a deep question because um I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. And I say that with all with all honesty because I think we as people, no matter who you are, where you are, we must always be careful and be empathetic. Not sympathy. Well, empathy is where you try to you put your feet in the shoes of other people. I don't know how to put my feet in your shoes from when if I was a child growing up like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I mean that with respect. I don't know because my experience, my truth, it was that, and yours was yours, and I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's okay.
And I've always had so much respect for you just because of not just your talent, but your personality and your the way you embrace people and just fun loving. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. And I mean, that makes your accomplishments and everything even more impactful to me as a person, as a human being, because you came through that, not looking for a career or shoes, whatever, but for a plate of food. I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful. And if you were still competing, I'd be telling that story as you competed to give people the picture of where you came from and what you've accomplished. I would like to hope that I would have uh, the desire and the energy to fight for something as an athlete or and maybe beyond that. But how can I know? And I think it would be arrogant of me to say yes, I still would have done the same thing. I think it would be arrogant of me to say that. And I say that out of respect for what you experienced. I didn't experience it, and I don't know how I would have reacted if I'd been in that situation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah, I say that out of a total respect. It's just incredible. I would hope that I'd be able to do something, but that is an experience that I don't know. And that's what makes our world incredible, is that people have all these different experiences, excuse me, and find a way to make it through. That's just unbelievable. So I have even more respect, Zaka. I mean, it's just, what can I say?
Okay.
Yeah, that's
What
okay. I
okay.
mean,
can I
That's
say?
okay.
it's fine. You didn't know about it. Like I always tell people that,
Oh,
my first negotiation track and field, there was no money, it was no scholarship, it was no nice clothes or nice watch, whatever it is, it was food. I told the guy, if there is food, I stay here. If there's no food, I am going home.
yeah.
And I
Wow.
was running 2 minutes and 10 seconds, my personal best.
How old were you then?
I was 17. My
17.
last year in high school, 2 minutes and 10. 7 months later, Louis Johnson, I run 151.
7 months later.
1 minute and 51.
So you were on the way.
I don't know if I wasn't, because I was hungry.
You were
I
hungry.
have, I have what you have to
Right.
become what we become as a broadcaster.
Right.
I was hungry. I didn't let nobody deny my dream.
Right.
And I bring, as 17 years old, I bring my sister with the 15 years old along with me to help her out. At 17 years old, a 15 years old girl, I'm taking care of my sister, bring her and try to track and field. And she's here today in
Oh,
America.
is she? Oh,
Yeah, she
wow.
was a very good athlete as well, very good athlete. But
Yeah.
you don't know. Just something I
Yeah.
wanna. That's why I made that question to you, because it's to show American people the difference, how people accomplish things, like we just said it.
Right. Right. But I'm glad you asked me that, because it's an impactful question, and it's a question that we should all be asking each other as we look across each other at our cultures. And people stand back and they make all these judgments and make all these assumptions, and they have no idea what somebody's been through. And I believe heavily in the idea of humility. I appreciate the compliments you give me, but at 58, I got no shame to say that 58, I'm still hungry. I'm still after things. I'm still trying to inspire our sons to do things. And we all have to stay that way. But we also have to, I think we should have a strong source of humility, because you don't know what somebody's going through standing right next to you. Or as I'm talking to you guys about this, and the people who will listen to us, we have an obligation to inspire them. And you don't inspire people by arrogance. You inspire them by uh, humility, and by empathy, and by listening, and by paying attention, and then trying to provide an opportunity for them to be able to navigate through something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very powerful.
That's all right, my friend.
Yeah.
That's all right.
You got to excuse me for a second, because you got me there. Wow. Yeah. That's very deep. It's very deep.
That's okay, my friend.
Look,
Don't
that's
worry.
okay.
Yeah.
Look,
We
this
need to
is
feel that too, don't we? We need to feel that.
Yeah.
we just need to exchange the experience. This is
That's,
the reason we are here.
yeah.
Because as I told you, you are giving us 1 week later a PhD as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So, Agnew.
So I'm
Well,
gonna have to bring out some music from Spento Karaoke to change the.
Go ahead. That's all. Agnew.
No,
no, you don't have to do that.
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Uh,
Yeah.
Lewis, just to change a little bit, but we're still talking about this culture, career, and everything, your experience. How can you describe your work on the Pac 12 network football sideline reporter in 2014? Is what the time that you did? How can you describe this experience? Because we have Super Bowl, we have NBA, we have and everything, but Pac-12, what it
Yeah.
means?
Okay, so that's a good question. What does Pac-12 mean? Okay,
Yeah,
so across, and Zeka knows this, but across the country you have these groups of universities, right? They're
right.
split into conferences, and the Pac-12 is the Pacific 12 conference. So these are schools on the West Coast: UCLA, USC, Arizona State, Washington State, Utah. These different schools that are all on the West Coast. Some of them in Utah, some in different places, but they're all West Coast. So I've done for several years college football and basketball in the Pac-12 in these specific 12 schools. It used to be the Pac-8, then they
Back
expanded.
then.
Yeah,
Then they
back
expanded to 10, and then
Yeah.
the 12. Right. So basically just doing college football games. And again, I would take the same mentality that I would cover the Olympics, storytelling, trying to, we know what the kind of the major storylines are for a game, one school versus the other school, and what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the potential storylines. And then, of course, those are always people involved with those. And then try and dial in on who these people are and be able to try to not just hit somebody over the head with a whole bunch of stats about what could happen here or there or what have you, offense, defense, special teams. But then who are these people that are actually important to the game? Or what does this person have a story about? And try to weave those things into this game where there's a lot of numbers involved. Same thing with basketball, a lot of numbers involved, right? But I always try to bring that dose of humanity into it. And then the funnest part for me is interviews. I love talking to people. So the post-game interviews are usually pretty quick, but it's a question or so or two about the game and why you won or what have you, and then I try to throw in something else that may be tied in personally to why this is an important moment for that particular athlete or that particular team. So yeah, a lot of fun. Basketball, football, some Pac-12 track and field, and just a great time. Great time, love it. And the other thing too that I love about the most, Edno, is that oftentimes on Friday we might go to a college class that may be communications or broadcasting, what have you, and speak to the class about what we do. And they get to ask us questions. And sometimes some of those students could actually come and work the game with us. And the ones who are smart enough to ask about coming to the game, I tell them if they're interested in being a reporter, come down and follow me around the sideline. And I can stop and talk to them. I show them how I prepare for the game. I show them my document. They get to see it up front because that's how my dream was built. So I'm more than happy to help them do it. Kids just have to learn to ask, and they have to learn to follow through.
Yes. The
Well,
steps necessary to achieve your
Right.
goals.
That's right. You got to ask and you got to follow through. If somebody says, call me or email me or whatever, do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of fun. Enjoyed that.
Louis, how does it feel to have being able to cover both? I think most important, even in a word, beside World Soccer Championship, the Summer and Winter Olympics on NBC from 2002 2018.
Unbelievable. And 2000 was the beginning. So Sydney was my first one. It has been the pinnacle of my career to be able to be on those big stages and watch those big moments. And the track and field, which is the sport I loved, from the kid who had so-so talent in high school, who had no college scholarship, to walk on to All-American, to, 2 times failing to make the Olympic team. There I am sitting courtside, trackside, doing interviews with some of the biggest stars. It's just incredible. And to be from here to, not very far to the finish line, to watch Bolt and everybody do all those things. Unbelievable. Magnificent stage, great stories, great inspiration. The opportunity to build relationships over Olympics to where people get to know you, Americans otherwise, to come by and stop and talk to you about the great moments, the difficult moments, and the Winter Games just the same. Just unbelievable. So just, it's the pinnacle. That's why it was such a heartbreak to see Tokyo get delayed, and I'm just praying that we still get to have the games in Tokyo if it's possible at all with COVID, because I think the world needs the Olympics. I think the world needs the Olympics, needs the inspiration. We need it. And we all hope to get back to work.
oh wow, that's nice. So what out of this Olympic experience, tell me which one have a great impact or something that you saw you like, whoa, that give that stew in your memory today.
Number one, the games in Sydney, the Kathy Freeman moment. That's still my number one moment.
Cat
Wow.
Freeman.
Kathy
Cat
Freeman.
Freeman.
Do you
Still
know?
number
Do you
one.
know? Do you know that I'm planning to bring her here?
No, are
planning.
you serious?
Yes, to
Yes.
have her here because I believe she made a huge impact.
Huge.
Huge.
Including if you can help us in this connection, we are trying because yes,
Well, maybe we can help each other because I'm writing my book finally, And
Oh man.
I've got like 10 people so far this first edition who had a big impact on me or in the experience, and she's number one. So I want to get her in my book, of course. So maybe we can all help each other.
Yeah,
All right.
because you wanna Kat Freeman, we want to bring her here, and I think because that's a great experience. There's a
Oh,
lot of people that made an impact in track and field, and I believe, I guess if you go on that route with you, we would be here for a long time because I know you have great memories. And by the way, you beat me because I was in four, you went in 10. So no, I
oh
was
yeah,
in six
you were in
because
six.
I was yeah, I was in
London.
2012 in London and also in Brazil. So I was in
Yeah,
six.
yeah. You ran in
Six.
four, but you've been at six, right?
Yes. So you beat
Unbelievable.
me.
Yeah, but
You beat.
no, you beat me, man. You ran in four Olympics. I've run in no Olympics. Hey, can I tell
Hallelujah.
can I tell you
Well,
something? Can I tell you something about the Kathy Freeman moment from 2000?
yes.
So imagine we talk about pressure. Athletes are under pressure, right? People feel a lot of pressure. So in '96, she won the bronze medal in the 400, right?
Mhm.
And it was at that moment that the country of Australia declared that our Kathy will bring home the gold in 2000.
Oh my
So
God.
imagine getting handed
Four
this back.
years.
Yeah, imagine getting handed this backpack of here you go, you hold that pressure backpack that the whole country, the whole continent is waiting on you to win gold in 4 years. She had to carry that. And I remember when we got to the games, I worked the opening ceremony, and I remember they were handing the torch to different people, different Australian legends. I'm like, well, who's going to be the last one, to go up and light the cauldron? And when she came out of the crowd with thing, I said, "Oh my God, how much more pressure can you put on this woman? You have her lighting the cauldron." So she goes up, she stands there, and she lights it, and the thing didn't work. Remember? Then finally it started to go
Yeah.
up. I'm like, man, but she came out there, and every round she executed. But the night of the final was the moment I will never forget. My first time as a big final as an analyst, Tom Hammond, myself, and Carol Lewis, and the whole stadium was there, 110,000 people just packed in. And you weren't just thinking about the stadium that was waiting, it was the whole country, or I would say the whole continent had come to a standstill. And I'll never forget Tom Hammond, who said in his final line, and this is when I learned about the importance of writing. When she went down to get into set position, get down in take
My
your marks
box.
position, everything went quiet. And Tom Hammond said something like, the country of Australia has been waiting for this moment for 4 years. He said, Kathy Freeman has been waiting for this moment for something. He said, but her Aboriginal people have been waiting for this moment forever. I think, oh my goodness. Like you think about the power of her being an Aboriginal athlete. And so she got up, set position, and ran, and then she came, turned home, took the lead, and won. And it was just unbelievable. But we were so excited. But as a young journalist, I wanted to say this, say that, or what have you. But Tom Hammond, our seasoned veteran, this is a great lesson for journalists. Sometimes the best thing to say is nothing. He turned to us when she crossed the finish line, and he put his hands up like this to me and Carol Lewis, because he could see we were ready to start screaming and yelling. He said, like that. In other words, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And the director was changing the shots. It was Kathy Freeman on the ground. It was cut to the prime minister, cut to the crowd of 110,000 people. Kathy Freeman pulling her headset off, pulling her that Nike one-piece thing off her head.
Mhm.
Back to her mom, back to the prime minister. And this went on for like a minute and a half. He held his hands up because the pictures were telling everything you needed to hear. And then finally we made some comments. So it was a great lesson as a young commentator that sometimes we need to shut up. Don't say anything. Let the pictures and the moment and the emotion tell the story. And at one point, I don't know what happened, but it was like there was so much emotion because we realized the magnitude. We were all in tears in the broadcast booth. Tears running down our face because of what we were seeing and witnessing. So that's why that's still number one for me. As great as Bolt was, that's still number one.
Wow.
Wow.
I know you're
Wow.
talking about Cat, it was your number one. But I would like you to describe the sensation to have an experience to interview a guy like Usain Bolt.
Yeah,
How is that feeling?
great, great. A lot of preparation. He is. People ask me all the time, is he a nice guy? He's a great guy. Usain Bolt is a great human being. He really is. He's extremely confident in his ability, and he delivers on the big stage. I have never seen an athlete come in and change a whole venue
when just by his presence. But when he comes into the building to walk around to the 200, the whole place changes. He is just he is about them and they are about him, and he just absorbs it all. Nothing's too big for him. And when he goes around and does his thing, you see sometimes him fist bumping the kids who were holding the baskets with the clothes, you know, and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. That's him enjoying in the environment. Credible God-given talent, trained by a great coach, and delivers in a big moment. And then he comes up and he delivers great interviews. Has always been gracious with his time, and understood, I think, more and more as he got older and older and moved toward his last Olympics, the value and the power of him speaking, not just to everybody, but speaking to particular audiences. In his last interview that he did at the games, he turned to the camera after I thanked him, and he talked to the U.S. audience and thanked them and thanked all the Jamaican people in America who watched and supported him. So he understood the power of his voice and the power of using the medium that, like we're talking now, to speak to people. But Bolt is just a great person and great talent, obviously. But awesome. Missing big vacuum when he left track and field. Big space opened up, and I'm not sure if it'll ever be refilled by anybody like him.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well. Let's continue here. As I told you, the goal of our program here is to teach the audience, teach the public that's watching us here, inform them about few things. I'd like to know that, even though you said you know just a little bit about Brazil, okay, you don't know much about Brazil, but in your opinion, and for the little that you know about Brazil, what do you think that needs should be done to Brazil to be able to develop a sport industry like in the United States?
Great question. Develop a sports industry like the United States. You mean like the collegiate system that?
Because do you see how it works here? What kind of tips, by your knowledge, you could help us or tell the public and let everybody that's watching here?
Not only in Brazil, but in the whole Latin American, because we can say that the United States system, education system, integrated with the sports system, is almost unique in the world.
Yeah, but not only the college system, but I think at the beginning, when the parents start to
motivate
the kids to start practicing sports, you know what I mean?
That's it. I think that the foundation has to be grassroots, community-based sport, where you're trying to not just get kids to move, have some activity, but have some structure. We can call rules structure, depending on what game you're playing, stickball, soccer, whatever it may be. And then have some values that we're sharing with them, value-based experience. If they're coming together every Saturday for 1.5 hours for some program or what have you, they're coming out to maybe have a 10-minute talk about, we're going to be working on this value today, fair play, or we're going to be working on this value of whatever the rules may be of the game, what have you, and then work on those particular rules and work on learning how to be teammates, learning not just how to win, but learn how to lose. You got to learn how to lose in life, and then maybe there's some sort of component where you've got some sort of healthy snacks that are going with that, and then give them maybe a couple of goals during the week to meet, whether it's movement, walking or jogging or practice or whatever each week, where they can maybe record on an app that they did that. I did my 10 minutes of, exercise this week, or I did my 10 minutes of kicking or whatever me this week, and just try and find a way to give them some structure early. And that sport can be not just about having fun with your friends, but it can also have purpose and meaning. Whatever we're going to accomplish in our life, we're going to have to set some goals. Okay, we're going to have to move through times when you're able to meet them and you're not. So you have to kind of get back up when things don't work out. And we just need to have a plan. So I think community-based sporting activity could be a good way to go about it, but something that could be uniform across a country. We have this plan that we're rolling out, and maybe you get some big soccer stars or what have you, along with the sports foundations, to buy into this basic plan that we could execute within communities. something like that.
Yeah. Well, Luis, as a former athlete, we all know that most of the athletes around the world, they would like to go to study and practice sports in the United States. Why does any country in the whole world was not able to do or create the same system that the United States has?
Whoa, I don't know. That's a great question. That's a great question. I don't know. Jose, I remember when we would go to Germany to compete, and I know that they'd have the Sportschule, the sports schools, right? They'd have the places where kids would go that were identified as having good talent, and they would send them to these places to go and train and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or
We don't
clubs.
have, right. We don't have that here, but the college system and everything, I don't know, man. That's a great question. That seems to be just kind of a part of our DNA here, where we have that, that high school to college pipeline, and I'm a firm believer that college is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have to go to college. You can find another way to get a skill or something to pursue something, but I don't know. It's very unique to our country, and I know that we have a lot of Caribbean nations who, if we talk about track and field, who will send their athletes here to compete in the American college system. Then they compete at the Worlds and Olympics for their country on those big stages. I don't know. That's a great question.
Do you think that United States built up this system because most of the time they think about business? Because if you watch the whole scenario, every level you have a kind of sports industry working and our money involved.
Right. That's
in
true.
Every level.
That's true. And now, right now, there's a lot of talk about the changes that the NCAA is being forced to make here in America. And for the people listening in Brazil, it's an organization that manages and directs and controls the collegiate sports system for across all sports. The biggest ones being American football and basketball, of course. But they have been forced to make some changes in the way they operate in their structure because everything's changing. The world is changing. Everything's changing. Yeah. Our world is changing here. So money is always going to be involved with it, right? I think with absolute respect that every effort will be made to have the Olympic Games happen in Tokyo as long as it's safe, because there's so much money involved. There's so much involved with preparing and executing a game, so many sponsors that are involved. So as long as it's safe, I know that'll be the first thing. But surely with the collegiate system here, it's a big, powerful money machine. There's no question about that. And what I want to see is somebody who came up through that system who wasn't a star athlete. Is I want to see more people, no matter what you look like, but surely for people who look like me, have a chance to have a college sport experience, to begin to move their life to the next level. And there could be kids in Brazil who can show promise in any sport that could maybe come here. But we just have to hopefully not see the collegiate system break down too much because of the financial stresses of COVID. We've seen a lot of track and field teams have been erased at some big colleges, and they have strong football programs or strong basketball programs or strong endowment. They have a lot of money that's endowed to the school, but they're still cutting track and field. We don't want to see that, because that means that there could be 10, 12, 15, 20, or 30 kids who now suddenly don't have a program to continue to compete in. And how many kids down the line were in junior high or high school who may have come there now have one less place to come and compete in track and field and get that college sport experience as well as get their academics and then move on to their life. So it's there's a lot changing right now, and COVID has a lot to do with what's going to happen. The foundation will always be money, for sure.
Okay, great.
Right.
Wow. Well, Louis, today, I don't know how many people in the world or in Brazil or Latin America knows, but today is a national holiday in the United States. It's just celebrating a most important day. In my own opinion, is the most important, because last week we spoke with Ronaldo and he told us about his toughest first decade, because he was born in Newark in 1959. But if you remember 1963, 1965, 1968, what happened? And
Yeah,
today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day.
right.
Being a black man, very sensitive, just like you are, very humble, and so human being. What does this mean for you, especially at this time when we have seen tempers stirred up all over the world?
Yeah. I grew up growing up in Austin. Martin Luther King and his life and legacy was made very apparent to us growing up. We saw maybe the stereotypical pictures of Martin Luther King in the kitchen. You know, it was there because his life and his mission and his legacy meant a lot to us as black people in this country. I cannot think of another time in our existence in America where what he did, what he stood for, what he died for has any more significance than right now. It is absolutely significant because we are going through a lot of turmoil in the United States right now. Racial, uh, cultural, which you could say could be the same thing, socioeconomic, everything. And I think that people have to choose to look to our better selves and look to see what it is we need to do to try and become a better, more cohesive country and cohesive culture. But it's the cultural divide that is tearing us apart here right now, right? And MLK did his best to stand up to bring people together through nonviolence and to challenge those in authority to see the plight of the African American person and address the issues that were being ignored. And I just can't think of another time in my existence in my life. I was born in, like I said, in '62. I can't think of another time in my life where his birthday and what his legacy was and how it still is today is more important. Ultimately, I believe this: there are some people's hearts that you will not be able to change. Where this all has to start goes back to the same question about sport we talked about a moment ago. It starts in community, but most importantly, if I back it up another step, it starts in your own home. It's how do you raise your children? How do you teach them to treat other people that look like you and don't look like you? And they will get that not by speech, but they will get that by example. How do they see you behave? How do they see you interact with people? What are you saying in your home when you get upset or get hot or angry about something, about someone, when they're little? They hear those things and they remember those things, they internalize them. So we have a massive responsibility at home. So I think you have to start in the home to try and prepare somebody to be able to see other people's humanity. And then beyond that, it's your circle of friends, your circle of family, and then you try to just navigate it that way. There are some people, sadly, who are not going to change. And there are some people who are going to live in fear about change. Not sure what you can do about that. So, MLK's legacy for me and for our house and for our people, to me, is just tremendous. And um, I will always honor what he stood for. And today, I think more people, especially in this country, need to pay attention to what he was trying to do and what he did accomplish, because it seems like part of us have gone backwards. We've gone in reverse. So I saw Martin Luther King III on TV a few hours ago. He was being interviewed,
Oh,
and the thing that I will took from that is not just what he said, but it was his demeanor. He spoke about the concerns about injustice. He spoke about the concerns about how his father might see this moment and how he would be disappointed how people are acting. But he also spoke about hope and he spoke about the possibilities and he said it with a smile on his face. So we have to, I think, keep a smile on our faces and we have to remain hopeful. But it starts within and it starts in your own home and then you take it from there. One thing I always believe, and I taught our boys, and I think anybody can use this if they want. Number one, in our house, we practice unconditional love. And I used to type out this big words, we practice unconditional love in this house. And I put them on the mirrors. We are always being worked on with our brains, right? So I try to do a little positive brainwashing for them since they were little boys, that we must unconditionally love each other no matter what happens. Okay. And then beyond that, as they get older, I always try to tell them that, and I do by example, is when I go out and do whatever I'm going traveling, I always speak to people first. How are you? I always ask them, how are you doing? I speak first. I put my best foot forward first. Instead of walking around waiting for somebody to insult you or ignore you or, or call you something crazy, be assertive and give that respect that you want back first. I think that's a good way to try and help you stop looking for trouble and for problems because they're out there and there are negative people that are out there. But if you put your best foot forward and you show the respect for, most times you get that back. And most of the time people are like, wow, you actually asked me how I'm doing? Nobody does that. They complain or gripe about this or that. So we have to find a different way to approach our daily lives. And ultimately, if you speak to somebody and they don't speak back or they have a crazy look on their face, say, God bless you. That's on you. I can't help you with that. But I at least did what I needed to do and let me move on about my day. So it's just a very, very strange time for us here. And MLK's legacy will forever be important. And today is another day to celebrate that. And I just hope people will use it, use what he stood for the betterment of humankind.
Well,
That's great. That's fantastic.
Great. It's fantastic.
I
appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate it. One more time.
Explanation.
Hey, my friend.
Yes.
Going that line right there, Brazil in our state have a lot of similarity. In our state have jazz. Brazilian music is like jazz. Brazilian had the slavery. Here had the slavery too. You have soul food in Brazil, soul food here. So they have a lot of similarity.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, out of Africa, Brazil have the largest black population in the whole world. Out of Africa, it is in Brazil. Okay, so the black population in Brazil represent 70% of the whole population. However, the Brazilian census recognize only 7%, according to the Brazilian census. But you have 7% or even more than black people. In the United States, have only 13% of the American population are blacks. And I want to I want to ask you what you have to say or what kind of advice or whatever your opinion you would give to the Brazilian people so that we can bring the black people in Brazil to the same level that black and American are succeeding and have a great position in the nation, represent in the nation. You already have here a black president. So what kind of advice you give to the Brazilian people that we can follow the same path of US and have the black people in Brazil being at the highest point and have the greatest position in the nation?
Okay, so now let me start by saying this. I don't want to be labeled as an activist. I don't want to be labeled as a threat.
No.
I don't want to land in Brazil and all of a sudden have my name on a list because I said something on the show, right? So,
No.
I'm kidding you.
Okay.
But I've always believed that the power is with the people. We saw that in the election here in the United States, right? That people wanted to make a change, and the way you make the change, you go to the polls and you vote. So that is a powerful voice, and even if the system or a system can be set up to where sometimes votes may be more difficult to vote because of voting locations or voting booths or lack of voting booths, whatever it may be. If the determination is there, and a country has the right to vote, then the vote is the most important thing, right? It's organization, community grassroots organization, and then getting people out to vote to be able to make the changes you want. I think that's the first thing. And then somehow we have to believe that we have to identify the people that we believe will represent us to be able to lift the community out of just the same generational cycle of either poverty or lack of opportunity. You've got to find somebody who's going to do that. But, I know there are power structures that sometimes make that very difficult because as people move up in politics, the money begins to influence everything they do, and therefore they become compromised. I'm not a politician. And I don't think I could ever be in politics, surely not today. But I think the power always has to lie in the people. It has to be in the grassroots communities where people organize and vote locally and then nationally to be able to get what you want. I think that's the key. Organization, organization. We saw that again in this country. We saw that in the state of Georgia, where in this last election you had to have unseat two senators to Republican senators to put in two Democratic senators to take control of the Senate in Washington. That happened because of grassroots organization, and that got people to the polls to vote, which then made the change, which now will change the power dynamic in Washington, at least for 2 years before the midterm elections. So again, those are general statements, and I'll remain general, but the power is within the people. And I think whenever you lose the idea that you don't have any power, then those who are running have won. So the power's within the people. I think that's the case when it comes to sport, politics, all the things we're talking about. Grassroots. That's what I think.
Wow. Well, that's great. When you told about Georgia, I thought about Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, Stacey Abrams.
She's Stacey Abrams. She's my hero now. That lady, I have a lot of respect for her.
She did a lot. And again, it's about surveying the situation and organizing people. And some people are really good at that. So she did an amazing job there. So again, we have to think about community, grassroots community, and organizing. That's, I think, the way you make changes. Yeah. Okay. Local level, the state level to the national level.
Okay, but you said something very special. Change. We need to make some change. But if we do a little exercise to come back some years ago, especially in the 70s earliest, when Melvin Harold and the Blue Notes sang a song, "Wake up everybody, no more sleeping in the bed. One more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. What do we have right now? What changed?"
I don't know, man. You got me thinking about that. You got me thinking about that song now. So much better. Yeah.
If you just let it be.
Yeah.
The world
you gotta change it.
Better.
You gotta change it. Yeah.
Just you and me.
Yeah, that's it. When I hear that, I'm thinking about, I remember my dad playing that song. He played a lot of that kind of stuff. The Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, all that stuff. Great music. What was your question again, man? I got lost in the song.
What do we need to change? Because since that time, they are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed.
Yeah. So if we aren't careful, history repeats itself, right?
Well, but we are in a looping.
Right. Exactly. It's like a loop, right? It's like a loop. Again, I think I just keep going back to the same thing. I don't know when it was I kind of had this understanding, but there's only so much you can do with trying to fix a society, right? It has to start from within you, and it has to be your offspring, and then they go out and exemplify what it is you want them to be. And no matter what anybody else is doing, the one thing we can never control is somebody else. And we have a hard enough time trying to control ourselves. That's a job and a half right there, right? So if we can control ourselves and have the right mentality and idea, we go out and we try to exemplify that in our communities. And then just identifying the right people who will espouse those same views as they get in positions of power, whether it's the middle school or high school principal, to the local leaders, to state, all that, all the way up. But yeah, you're right. You're right, man. We just have to organize and fight for what we want, what we believe in, and what's going to make our communities a better place for the next generation and the ones behind them. And it sounds like cliche, but that's what it is. That's what it is. Maybe we need to play that song a little bit more and let people hear that and say, you hear this? They were singing about this in the 70s, and we're back here doing the same things in 2021. Why are we doing this? We got to be better.
Yeah, for sure.
We got to be better.
Exactly.
Well. Hey, my friend, you know what? It's very nice to talk to someone like you, very intelligent, very relaxing. You
I
speak your
appreciate it.
mind, and you give us the opportunity. Come here and you really teach us a lot. You learn a lot of things about you. It was great. I'm still here in my with the music. I'm here about race walking. I will never forget that anymore.
Yeah, the
Race
race walking
walking.
story. Yeah,
I expect you going 100-meter dash, 200,
yeah,
800 hurdle,
yeah,
but marathon, even the marathon. But I
yeah.
never expect you to be in a race walker. I mean,
And
you blew
I was
me.
commentating it. I wasn't running anything. I wasn't walking
I
it. I was
know,
commentating. Yeah, yeah,
commentating,
okay.
race off.
Yeah,
That's what the opportunity for
yeah,
you to get in this world and become one of the greatest race
yeah.
walking. So I'm glad that at least it was a track and field. So,
That's right. And the point is, Zach, is you never know. You never know. But if you want to do something, you just have to move forward. Sit down, make a plan. I always tell people, sit down, make a plan, write it out, and put it up where you can see it. Put it in a safe place where you can see this idea, these ideas that you want to accomplish. And I say a safe place because if the wrong people look at it, they'll say, "Oh, baby, I'm not sure if you can do that, or that's going to be kind of hard." Next thing you know, your little bit of doubt has grown to this big mountain of doubt. I can't do that. You got to put stuff up in a safe place and write it down and start moving on those things. It made no sense that I would get a break doing race walking in St. Petersburg, Russia. Come on, man. But I just was always intended to be somewhere around the sport or around TV doing something. And if you're in the middle of it and you're trying to get in the middle of it and opportunities come, you just never know where the break's going to come. You just never know. You never know.
yeah, yeah.
I believe that.
So that's fantastic. I want to thank you very much to be here with us, accept our invitation. Time is running out, especially when you are having like a delightful night like this and times fly so quick. So you gonna bring this to an end. Before you close this, I'd like you to give your last consideration. We appreciate it. Me, Adriano de Souza, Edwin de Souza, and Eder Mota, the behind the scene, the man that without Eder Mota, we won't be here. He
Yeah.
is our oxygen. He's the most important person on this whole setup here. So
Yeah.
you are thankful for him. But I want you your last, give your consideration before you leave here.
Well, first of all, Jose, life is incredible. I would have never have thought that the many years ago when we met on the track and field circuit and you guys embraced me like I was your brother and we were all doing our thing together, competing, training, traveling, having fun, that these many years later we'd be having a conversation like this. So the journey of life is amazing. And I'm so proud tonight to be on with you guys at AES Sports Legacy Channel. I'm so inspired by your mission and what you're doing and how you want to inspire the people of your country, and especially the young people, that they'll have a chance to identify a dream and work toward that dream, no matter where they come from the situation like you did or mine, is to be able to have that opportunity. So thank you so much for having the idea and the courage to pursue this platform. And you will have me as a supporter always. And once COVID has gotten better, I want to come back to Brazil to help in any way I can. And we want to teach young people to do what we're doing here. Maybe have a channel where they can come up and talk about their issues and things. We can do that. So to all of you, Jose, Adriano, Edno, and the other gentlemen behind the scenes, congratulations for everything you're doing with AES Sports Channel. And to the people of Brazil, believe in yourself. Write it down, begin to do the work. Anything is possible. I always believe that. And I can't wait to come back to your beautiful country and see all of you. So with that, I say thank you so much for the invitation. Obrigada and obrigado.
Well, you are more than welcome, and you are always, as everyone, a special guest here to share everything, especially your humanity. This is what we need, and to spread out all the love. Please, you will be with us sooner.
Great.
Wow.
Thank
I
you
look
so
forward
much.
to it. All righty.
I'll tell
Take care,
you,
everybody.
I was in your first chat, but I was kind of quiet. I didn't talk. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just watching and
Oh,
learning.
we were doing the other thing, the how to achieve excellence. Yes, yes, that's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. I couldn't be in the second one, but I would love to be in the third.
Great. We'll have another one coming up soon. So hopefully you'll be there. Okay.
For sure we will.
Oh,
For
I want
sure
everybody
we
to
will.
remember, this flag stays in my office. That's why that experience means so much to me, that flag stays right there.
Real.
Well,
like my brother said, I would love to meet you personally and keep change ideas and experience for the whole life and help people and teach people. I
Sounds
think
good.
this is our mission.
Sounds good. And I have the perfect location for us to meet and have a meal and get to talk.
Perfect. I
Espeta
know that.
Espeta carioca.
I know that place. I know that place.
All right. All right.
okay, we
All right, my
appreciate it.
friend.
Okay.
Lewis
All
Johnson,
the
thank you
best.
so much. You have a
Thank
great, a wonderful 2021, and I hope you're gonna be there at the Olympic game in Tokyo.
That's right. And if we're there, we're gonna speak together there. We'll do something else. Okay. We'll meet it there. We'll meet. Okay. Take care, guys. Edno, Adriano, everybody.